Hello, guys, and welcome to Oddspedia Bundesliga match day 14 with Bayern Munich bouncing back after the KO in the cup against Leverkusen, 6 points ahead of Eintracht Frankfurt. And this match day, we have an interesting one. We have RB Leipzig, Eintracht Frankfurt. Hello, Ronan Murphy.
Hello, how are things?
All good. Another ACCA in your back, by the way, in the Champions League. So looking forward to this one. Any interesting news in the Bundesliga?
No, I think everyone at the I think at the moment everybody is kind of looking forward to the winter break. So a lot of talk is towards the winter break at the moment and how teams maybe can regroup and rebuild and maybe get players fit again, because some of the big names in the Bundesliga, obviously, as we know, are still sidelined, and Victor Boniface has been gone for a while. But Manuel Neuer now, when they say he's out for the rest of the year, they only actually mean 2 or 3 games. So yeah, he's out until January at least. But yeah, so I think teams would want to get fit and kind of rebuild and look again and bounce back next year. So a lot of teams, especially teams who are playing poorly at the moment or kind of hit and miss, are kind of looking to rejig things and maybe start again afresh and hope for a better 2025 than a 2024.
We have 2 games until the end of the year until the winter break, although it's short this time again in the Bundesliga. So guys, stay with us, of course, and analyze this Bundesliga show. Press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. First one is a good one. On Friday, we have Freiburg, Wolfsburg, both with 21 points. Wolfsburg in European spots, and they are flying, scoring plenty of goals. Beat Mainz 4-3 with Wind scoring a brace in the last 10 minutes. It's 5 consecutive wins in all competitions. And Freiburg, they are, as I said, with the same points as Wolfsburg, but the trajectory is completely different. It's only 1 win in the last 6 games for Freiburg. Despite this, Ronan, they are still favorites for this game.
Yeah, I think they should be, because they're a good team at home. A lot of those poor results have been on the road. So if you look at their home form, they're kind of much better than they are away. So they've made the ground kind of difficult, or it continues to be difficult like it was in the Christian Streich era. It's difficult for teams to go there and pick up points. So if you look at their home form, it's pretty good. They're undefeated in their last 4 home games, and the one defeat this season at home in all competitions was they've only lost once. So yeah, they've been pretty good in at home. But similarly, Wolfsburg have been pretty good away. Their only defeat away on the road this season was at Leverkusen. So these are 2 teams that are kind of maybe hard to split, and that's why the odds favor Freiburg, but not hugely. And you mentioned Jonas Wind when you were introducing this match, and he scored twice off the bench last week, and he actually hasn't started a game since October. So it'd be interesting to see whether he has done enough to kind of guarantee that he can start matches, because he seems to be a perfect super sub at the moment, but he's not trusted to start matches and play a full 90 minutes. And you imagine that's frustrating when you are a striker that is scoring goals and you're not getting a full match. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see at the weekend whether he is trusted enough to start the game. And Freiburg themselves, they should be able to score some goals of their own, and they should probably be a bit leaky, especially at home. Every home win they've had this season, they've conceded at least 1 goal in. Wolfsburg are scoring 2.2 goals per game this season. So this is a one that looks like there could be lots of goals in it. Mohamed Amoura is a player to watch for Wolfsburg. He has 10 goal involvements in 11 Bundesliga games so far this season, 5 goals, 5 assists. That's the best start of a Wolfsburg player in over 20 years. Wolfsburg have a lot of attacking talent. So for this one, I'm looking at goals anyway. Over 3.5 goals has happened in 44% of Freiburg games and 50% of Wolfsburg. So Wolfsburg's total goals over 1 looks good. So if they score over 1 goal, you win 1.77. If, depending on your bookies, make sure to pick the right bookmaker that will give you your money back if they score exactly 1. It's 1.77 for that. Total goals over 2 is even better, 5.30. I had a look at that one. that looks pretty good because Wolfsburg, like I said, they're averaging 2.2 goals, so maybe they could score over 2 goals. But they are a good team on the road. And like I said, their away form has been very good, so they're second in the away table. So my main tip, the best bet for me in this one is Wolfsburg double chance 179.
Indeed, really good odds to back Wolfsburg. Somehow, 29 goals scored this season, more than RB Leipzig or Borussia Dortmund, for instance, and only one less than Bayer Leverkusen. We have coming from 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐿, like in your predictions, Ronan. So let's keep giving tips to our audience and talking about Leverkusen playing next in Augsburg. Never easy to go to Augsburg, even if they are a team always fighting to avoid relegation, but they are strong at home. They are coming from a draw against Frankfurt, and it's only one defeat playing at home this season. We know how Leverkusen struggled against smaller teams in this season, dropping points unexpectedly. Even in the last match day, they beat Pauli only 2-1 at home, but they are grabbing good results lately to end up the year. It's very important for Leverkusen also taking the 3 points from Augsburg, Ronan.
Oh, it is, yeah. They seem to be coming into form at the right time. And like I said in the introduction, that some teams will be looking maybe to regroup and hope for better results in 2025. But I think Leverkusen are in a good run of form at the moment, and they'll be hoping for injuries to ease up. Obviously, we see Patrick Schick back, and Leverkusen beat Inter Milan on Tuesday evening. That was a great result, a well-deserved result for them. We predicted in the Champions League show that it would be a low-scoring game, and that's what we saw. And there was a goal from 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐿, of all people, to get the goal. So Leverkusen are able to find goals maybe with some of their attackers out, but the return of Schick is a huge boost for them, because we know that on his day he can be a great player and score lots of goals for them. And against Augsburg, it can be somewhat tricky to get goals against them, and especially this season. But their home form, it looks great on paper, but then when you look at the fixtures of Augsburg at home, they've only actually played 3 of the teams that are in the top 10. I know the Bundesliga is only a top 9 in the top half, but of the top 10 teams, they've only played 3 of them, and they've only won one of those matches actually at home against Dortmund. They drew with Bremen and they lost Mainz, so they haven't been as good perhaps as the home table maybe indicates, because they haven't played big teams, and Bayer Leverkusen are a big team, and we should expect them to pick up all 3 points here. They won both games last season. They won 1-0 at Augsburg. They won 2-1 at home. Leverkusen, if Schick is fit, and if they have fit attackers, there's no reason why they can't score plenty of goals here. Augsburg are conceding 1.9 goals per game. Leverkusen are averaging 2.3 goals per game. So Leverkusen over 2 goals is an option I like in this one, 2.20. I think that looks pretty good. And but for me, I think Leverkusen, they've shown against Inter and they've shown against teams in recent weeks that it's hard to look past them winning matches against most teams. So Bayer Leverkusen to win, 164 is on the screen. I had a look. You might even find it a bit higher in other places if as the week goes on. Yeah, well, Leverkusen to win could be the best way to kind of back this match, because they should take all 3 points against Augsburg.
Let's see if they don't drop points in a difficult pitch like Augsburg. Arnoldus is going for over goals, keeping it simple or not trusting that much. Perhaps Leverkusen playing away. We have lower odds to back Gladbach playing at home against Kiel, penultimate in the standings with only 5 points. Now is 5 points away from Heidenheim. Away they are very poor, only 2 points, and Gladbach trying to leave the dangerous area in the standings. They grabbed a really positive draw with Dortmund, and they are doing well at home, Ronan. So I guess I wouldn't say it's a safe bet, but Gladbach 1.5, they should win at home against Kiel.
Yeah, 1.52 doesn't look too bad for Gladbach against Kiel, and we know how bad Kiel have been this season. They've only won once this season, a 1-0 win over Heidenheim, and the 4 games since they've played, they've lost them all. They've conceded 2 or more in them all, and they've only scored twice in that run. So they are not on a good run of form at the moment, and Gladbach, they're actually pretty good at home. They've scored 2 or more goals in 3 of the last 4 home games, and the only one, like you said, was that 1-1 draw with Dortmund, which is a very good result. So they didn't need to score 2 goals in that one to pick up a good result. So yeah, I think Gladbach are on a kind of good run of form at the moment. They should be confident that they can win here. 152 looks pretty good for a Gladbach win. They're undefeated in 5 home games. They lost the first 2 of the season, but they're undefeated since then. The first 2 of the season were against Leverkusen and Stuttgart, 2 of the biggest teams in the Bundesliga last season, and this season too, I suppose you could say. So yeah, the only kind of doubt for me over Gladbach is maybe Fansara up front. He's suspended after 2 yellow cards in that Dortmund game, and 𝐬𝐿𝐴 picked up his 5th booking of the season in that match as well. So they have a couple of absentees, but even despite that, you should be confident in Gladbach winning this game, and you should be confident in them winning maybe comfortably against Kiel, because Kiel haven't not shown us a lot at all this season in the Bundesliga. So yeah, Gladbach 152 looks good, but if you want to go even bigger, Kiel have conceded in both halves of 73% of their games so far this season. So that's why I like Gladbach to win the first half, and that pays out a little bit better than just to win the match at 196.
Well, 𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗍, Gladbach to win or draw. This pays very, very little if you go for a double chance for Gladbach. Even, as I said, Gladbach win is only 1.5, but still good. But Ronan found better odds. Next one is Mainz, Bayern Munich. Bayern, despite all the absences, they were able to beat and thrash Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. Also plenty of goals in the last game against Heidenheim. So plenty of goals, again, despite not having available, for instance, Harry Kane. And Mainz doing a great season, mid-table. They lost to Wolfsburg, as I said before, 4-3. But they were coming from 3 consecutive wins. Probably plenty of goals again here.
Yeah, I would look at the goals market in this one, and you saw Bayern Munich on Tuesday in the Champions League score plenty of goals again, like you said, and 𝐬𝐿𝐴 Musiala got on the score sheet like we predicted in that game too, and those odds were good. So I'm going to stick with 𝐬𝐿𝐴 Musiala scoring goals. I think that's always a good way to go, and the rest of the Bayern attack scoring goals is also a good way to go, because Musiala, he had a goal chalked off for a ridiculous decision. Bayern Munich got another ridiculous penalty. It was a game full of ridiculous decisions in Champions League. So hopefully we'll see better refereeing in this one on Saturday at the weekend. Bayern under company, they've been scoring lots of goals, but I think they're starting to understand how to dominate games better on them. If you look at last week against Heidenheim, the amount of passes they had was absolutely insane. They got 988 passes. They attempted 988 attempted passes, and that was the second most they've ever done since Opta started recording the stats. And the only match better was against Hertha Berlin under Pep Guardiola. They had 1,100 in that game. So yeah, this company team is looking to dominate games and score lots of goals, and you saw it in action in the Champions League. And I think this can be one where they get lots of attempts on goal. They pepper the Mainz goal, but I wouldn't look past the fact that Mainz can score, because we saw in that game in the Champions League, and we've seen recently in the Bundesliga, that this Bayern Munich team it's kind of a small bit leaky at the back. Maybe they hired a defender as their coach, but he hasn't kind of sorted out all the defensive problems they've had. So this could be a match with lots of shots in it, and I like the look of the corner market. I know plenty of our commenters ask us to lean into the corner market. So of the matches that are on this weekend in the Bundesliga, this is one looks the best for corners, because if you look at the overall stats, the most corners this season in the Bundesliga, Bayern are second in that table and Mainz are fourth in that table. So over 9.5 total corners, 191. Something similar, I think, in the Aston Villa Leipzig match, and that came in the Champions League too. So yeah, this is a match that there should be plenty of action at both ends of the pitch, but particularly the Mainz end. So yeah, if you look at the match they played already this season, it was 4-0 to Bayern Munich in Mainz in the cup. Musiala got a hat-trick in that match. Harry Kane got a couple of assists. He won't be around, but Musiala was a big kind of difference maker in that. I think can be in this one again. I think there's going to be lots of goals. Over 3 goals is a pretty good tip for me, as you see on the screen. Mainz have 2 or more goals in their last 4 games, 3 goals in 3 of them. Average goals for Bayern Munich is 3.2 so far this season. So yeah, as well as over 3 goals, I also like to look at Bayern over 2.5 goals. That's 3 if you want to go a bit bigger, but yeah, total goals over 3 seems a safer one for 190.
Okay, we have plenty of comments for this game. Musiala to score, as you said also in the Champions League. That was correct. Reisberg over 2.5 goals and Bayern to win. Sounds good. Lawrence, both teams to score, another good one. And Abdullahi, home over 1 goal. Could be another option since even Heidenheim scored 2 goals. Even Shakhtar Donetsk scored 1 goal against Bayern Munich. So let's see if we see plenty of goals. Probably less goals we are going to see in the capital. Union Berlin, Bochum. Union Berlin dropping spots in the table. It's only 2 points in the last 6 games, but now they are super favorites, of course, because this Bochum probably is the worst team in Europe in the top 5 leagues. Only 2 points, no goals scored in the last 3 games, 0 points away from home, and we can keep going on with terrible stats.
Yeah, Bochum are absolutely diabolical. And we've said it time and time again, still no wins, just 2 draws and 30 games, and only 10 goals scored this season. So they're not even scoring any goals in those pathetic defeats they're having. And we remember a few weeks ago they changed manager. 𝗛𝗲𝗿𝗀𝗿𝗀 came in as the new head coach. We expected that maybe a new manager bounce from that. It happened. They drew with Leverkusen, but since then they've gone back to the usual Bochum that we've seen before. Terrible. They're just a terrible team. But Union Berlin, they haven't scored a lot of goals themselves. They're averaging less than a goal a game. The average of this is 0.9 versus 0.8. So this is not a good one. Danilo Doki scored for Union Berlin last week. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice that was his eighth goal in the Bundesliga. And every single one of those 8 goals was a header. So that's kind of just an amazing stat. They just need to keep crossing the balls to him and hope he can head it in. But yeah, this is one I had a look at the both teams to score no option, and both teams to score no, which never happens in the Bundesliga. It's actually lower than both teams to score yes. It's 198 for yes and 185 for no. You never see that there's a match where both teams to score no is kind of more likely in the Bundesliga. But judging these 2 teams that cannot score whatsoever, it wouldn't be a bad one to look at. Union Berlin haven't scored in 5 different league games this season. Bochum haven't scored in any of their last 3 games. Bochum haven't scored in 6 different games so far in the league this season. Correct score, 0-0. I had a look at 13 if you want to go for that one. I think this might be the worst match that has ever happened in the history of football ever this weekend. I think it could.
Okay, let's watch it.
It could be that pathetic. You're better off just watching, turning off the telly and just staring at the blank screen, I think so. But yeah, correct score 0-0. There could be a small chance some team might score, so that's why I think a safer option might be total goals under 2.5. That's 195.
Okay, Ronan, you know that I'm from Spain. I like to take my siestas, my nap, and this game is at 3:30 p.m., so it's perfect time to sleep a little bit. So I might tune in and watch it and see if it's that boring. Later, when I wake up, we have Pauli, Werder Bremen, Pauli out of the bottom 3, only 1 point above the relegation spots, above Heidenheim, lost to Leverkusen, and they got the first ever home win this season against Kiel, a game that you watched live from the stadium. Now let's see if they're able to beat Bremen, because they beat Bochum in the last game to stay in the mid-table, and they do much better when they play away.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I did. I like you said, I was at that St. Pauli match, and one of the big reasons they won was 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐴 was kind of causing them plenty of problems, causing Kiel plenty of problems in that match. But he's suspended for this match, so they will be missing one of the kind of key players they have for making a difference up front. So that could kind of limit their chances a bit, because as we know, before that match they actually hadn't scored at home this season. So yeah, they haven't been great at home, and Werder Bremen have been pretty good. I mean, they're scoring 1.5 goals per game, and They're undefeated in their last 3 games in all competitions. In their last 10 games in all competitions, they have 5 wins and 2 draws. So I think, Bremen could be the team to look at here. But I like to look at 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐺. He has 6 goals in 9 Bundesliga games this season, which is as many as in his last 2 seasons combined. And he was saying after the match that was a kind of psychological thing, that he was getting into similar positions that he was in the past, but now he's kind of unlocked something where he's confident that he's going to score goals when he gets these opportunities. So as a very, very outside bet, I like to look at him as an anytime scorer at 5.20. Obviously check if he's in the lineup before you make a bet that big, but 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐺 anytime scorer 5.20 could be a really long shot for this one. But safer is looking at those odds for Bremen to win 277, but if you go down to Bremen draw no bet, looks pretty good for 194. I think that's where the value is to be found in this match.
Good odds to back Bremen also somehow in this game. Games on Sunday, we have a Heidenheim Stuttgart, probably a high scoring game. Heidenheim bottom 3, they are going down and down. They cannot react. Lost to Bayern Munich as expected, but is 5 consecutive defeats in all competitions and also in the Bundesliga. Stuttgart on the other side trying to react despite the absences, despite not having Undav, and they have a good chance to win away in this pitch.
Yeah, I think they do. There were 3 games unbeaten before the Champions League game on Wednesday evening. So depending on when you're watching this video, if you're not watching it live with us at the moment, maybe you might watch it later in the week. It might be 4 Champions League games unbeaten, or 4 games in all competitions unbeaten, which is probably likely considering they're playing young boys. So if they win that, they'll have 3 wins in a row. So Stuttgart will be going into this on good form, whereas Heidenheim, they play in Istanbul against 𝗲𝗏𝗃 here, and that could make it 6 losses in a row if they lose that one. So it's going to be a kind of tale of 2 teams at the moment. Heidenheim conceded 3 or more goals in each of their last 4 Bundesliga games. They've lost every single one of those. So I think Stuttgart, even though without Undav in attack, they have other players that have been kind of stepping up. 𝐋𝐞𝐿 scored last week. He's 3 goals in 8 appearances this season. That's more than he scored for Bremen in 41 games at the club. So he's making a difference. The only positive Heidenheim have at the moment is 𝐸𝐿 𝐶𝐞𝐿 is back as the Bundesliga's fastest player ever. He saw his record broken earlier this season by Gerhard Holtmann for Bochum, but that was probably the only good positive in their season. But now 𝐶𝐞𝐿 is back again, so he's the 1st and 3rd quickest player in Bundesliga history. And if you want to know exactly how fast, it's 36.82 kilometers an hour. I don't know how quick that is compared to Usain Bolt or Noah Lyles or any of them, but it sounds pretty quick to me. But like you said, Stuttgart is where the money kind of looks. The Stuttgart have won back games in Germany, Cup and League, scored 3 goals in both of those games. So Stuttgart over 1.5 goals, 180 looks pretty good. And then if you look at the odds that we were showing on the screen before that tip came up, the 180 tip, Stuttgart to win 195. It's hard to look past that.
All right, let's go for the next game. Dortmund Hoffenheim. Dortmund keep dropping points against Gladbach. The draw that we were analyzing, of course, against Bayern, which was positive. They have a tough game in the Champions League against Barcelona, but at home they've been very reliable, of course, apart from that draw against Bayern Munich that still is positive. We have kind of good odds to go for Dortmund, even Asian handicap, if we are brave enough, Ronan, because this Hoffenheim, they keep struggling despite the change of manager. It's only 1 win in the last 6 Bundesliga games.
Yeah, I think they're kind of struggling for goals at the moment, and that seems to be their biggest problem. They've only 1 goal in the last 4 Bundesliga games, and Andrej Kramaric started the season brilliantly. You remember a hat-trick on the opening day, but he has no goals in his last 11 games in all competitions for a club or country. So he's just gone through a terrible streak at the moment. And that new coach you mentioned, Christian Ilzer, he came out and said that they're fine-tuning how he uses space and working on his self-confidence at the moment. So if he can get that self-confidence back, maybe he can get back among the goals. And we know on his day he can be a real difference maker for Hoffenheim because he's scored so many crucial goals and big goals for the club. He just scored generally, but Dortmund, they've had 2 1-1 draws in a row, so they're on a kind of a mini slump maybe in the Bundesliga. Still unbeaten at home, like you said, before taking on Barcelona, but yeah, still unbeaten at home, and they're top of the home table. Hoffenheim are 14th in the away table with 0 wins. So, but the only thing is that Dortmund are also terrible away. Neither team has won away this season, so I don't think that's necessarily going to change here, but I think it perhaps could be a closer game than the bookmakers are expecting, because Hoffenheim won 3-2 in this fixture back in February, and 8 of the last 10 games between the two sides have been decided by only 1 goal. Or there was a draw, I think, in either one, but yeah, there was only 1 goal between the sides. So I think if you look at maybe where the best value perhaps is in this match, it's Hoffenheim Asian handicap plus 1.25. That's 202. Because I think Hoffenheim can keep it close. I'm not confident in them getting too much from the game, but I think they can keep it close. So yeah, Hoffenheim Asian handicap plus 1.25.
Okay. Then you go for the opposite. Actually, you think it's going to be a close game. This one, and the best game in this match day is RB Leipzig, Frankfurt. Leipzig 4th, another defeat in the Champions League. They are out. It's the first team to be eliminated from this new format of the Champions League. They were very unlucky with the draw, but still very surprising. They have a really bad month of November. Luckily, they beat Kiel in the last game. And remember that the last home game was 1-5 against Wolfsburg. So it's only 4 points in the last 15. Frankfurt lost recently, actually, against Leipzig in the Cup, 3-0. And we saw them also dropping points against Augsburg. This one is very tough to predict, in my opinion, Ronan.
Yeah, I think it's hard to predict that either team is going to necessarily win this one. But we will hope that, given that it is 4th against 2nd, that there will be goals in this one. And you will look at the cup match and think that maybe that will give Leipzig confidence. They won 3-0. Benjamin 𝐶𝐶𝐿 scored the opener, and then also Penda scored twice. And Antonio Nusa, the kind of new signing, the new hype player at the team, he assisted all 3 goals in that cup game. So he can be maybe a man who can provide some kind of attacking threat again, and maybe get the ball into 𝐶𝐶𝐿 and Openda. I had a look at the anytime scorer, 𝐶𝐶𝐿 anytime scorer, if he's to kind of repeat the feat of scoring against Frankfurt, 262 could be an option in this one. Maybe the goals market for either team is the way to go, because Omar Marmoush, we always have a look at him. He didn't score last week, unfortunately, but he's still kind of scoring lots of goals this season. He's only 1 goal away from Harry Kane for the top scorer, and with Harry Kane out, the next 2 matches, it'll give him a chance to overtake Kane and be top scorer come the mid-season break. So Omar Marmoush, anytime goal scorer, is even better than Benjamin 𝐶𝐶𝐿 at 288. So that could be something to have a look at in this match. The last time they met in the league before that cup game was last season. Obviously, that was 2-2 in May, so there tends to be plenty of goals when these two sides play, and there tends to be plenty of goals when these sides play anybody this season. Frankfurt are averaging 2.5 goals per game. Leipzig are averaging 1.6 goals per game. Both teams to score, yes, could be a good option here. 153. It's obviously less than either of those goal scorers, but it's a much safer option. 𝐵𝗏𝗏 on the screen is saying home team over 1.5. I think that could be a good option too. Could be a good option for either team in this one if you wanted to bet on either team scoring over 1.5 goals. But this one, I'm going to combine that together. Both teams to score 1.5 goals each would be total goals over 3. So that's my main tip for this one. Over 3 goals in this match, 1.86.
We have 𝐵𝗏𝗏 going for home team over 1.5 goals. So Leipzig to score 2 goals in this game. The best one we have in this match day, because it is 2nd against the 4th. Well, guys, as always, remember that you can post your own tips in Oddspedia in our and participate in our tipster competitions, even win cash prizes, and of course participate in Rivals, our new feature where you can create your own customized competitions and challenge your friends. There you go, a lot of competitions to play. and participate in our tipster competition, first point is register in the Oddspedia website. Ronan, let's go with your safe bet.
My safe bet this week is Stuttgart Asian handicap plus a quarter, 133.
Okay, and your ACCA?
My ACCA is Asian handicap 0 in the following games: Wolfsburg, Leverkusen, or for the following teams, obviously. Asian handicap 0 for Wolfsburg, Leverkusen, and Stuttgart. Oh, no, I've changed it. I actually made it shorter. I took out Leverkusen because it was going to be 441 for that one. So I made it a bit safer because after I didn't feel, perhaps I didn't feel as confident. But yeah, if you like the look of Leverkusen, add them in. But otherwise, my ACCA is Wolfsburg and Stuttgart, Asian handicap 0 for both of those for 353.
All right. Thank you, Ronan. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you next week. Bye. Bye.